Chapter 911. Very bold. Now I can be at ease. After hearing these words, Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack had to admit, these two were much more bold than they had originally thought. They hadn't run off, and instead risked losing their 8 stockings in order to hunt down and wipe out 2 people without stockings. This wasn't something that normal players would do. To be blunt, normal players wouldn't have this type of confidence in their abilities, and their mistake was viewing these two as normal players. Would people who came in a pair to a team competition lack confidence? The two were sent to the revival point as they thought about this, and the second countdown for revival began ticking. As I expected, you came. Yet before the two had the time to do anything, a voice rang out. They turned their views, and immediately saw a person they had seen not too long ago, footsteps in the wind. They had been killed in around the same area, so it wasn't unusual that they would be sent to the same revival point. However, it had been over a minute since Footsteps in the Wind had been killed, but this guy was still waiting here. If it wasn't that he had died many times and accumulated a longer revival time, then he had to have been waiting here just for them, and his words pointed to the latter. No way. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were immediately disdainful. Waiting at the revival point meant that he wasn't after stockings anymore. Did this guy seem to actually be waiting here just to take revenge for killing him just now? He was a god of glory in the pro circle, yet still acted so pettily? I'm waiting here just to confirm something, Sun Shang said in delight. It seems like you two and the other two really aren't working together, as expected, Sun Shang continued. You don't say. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack rolled their eyes. Some things that others needed to think about were simple and obvious to them, so they weren't at all impressed by Sun Jiang's triumphant attitude. That's not a very good attitude to have. Sun Shang seemed to not have anything better to do. Because I might just decide to have you two stay here for another 40 seconds. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were really depressed. Their personalities wouldn't allow them to take this lying down. So what if it prevented them from getting stockings? It was just an event reward, not something they absolutely needed to have. Yet for the two of them, this was something very important, something they had to compete for. That's because they were using this event as a staircase to fame. Their records yesterday were very impressive, but if they slipped up a lot on the second day, they would be something good that didn't last. Having been pushed to a 0-0 by Lord Grimm and Steam Bun Invasion in the last round, they were already fated to be incapable of achieving the same glory they had achieved yesterday. In the current round, they unluckily met a strong opponent again. If they ended up with a nil again, then they would only be able to get a third of yesterday's score today. This would definitely affect the impression that powerhouses had of them, and that was something they didn't want. When it came to this, the two were very rational. They didn't want another blank for this round. What do you want? Lower Your Head asked, while keeping an eye on the time. If their negotiation went badly, they wanted to be able to grab an advantage in taking the initiative. Footsteps in the Wind definitely didn't have the countdown, so he could only count it down himself. It wasn't possible for him to get it exactly, so they could grab the upper hand using this detail. Good, that sort of tone is much better, ha 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 ha, Sun Shang said, having Footsteps in the Wind turn and leave. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack were both stunned. This idiot was superficial enough just to waste time here because of their tone of voice? By the time the 20-second countdown was over, Footsteps in the Wind was long gone. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack ran in the same direction as Footsteps in the Wind, still disdainful towards the god. They wouldn't be so bold this time, because it was a fight between 3 sides. If they struck first, then it would give the third party an opening to take down both them and the second party. However, among these 3 sides, there was a side that held an absolute advantage over the others. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack's duo had fought Sun Shang to a standstill. If the entirety of Excellent Era gathered together, the two would have to admit that they couldn't take on such a powerhouse, no matter how confident they were in their abilities. Being direct wasn't going to yield any results. They had known this from the start, and that was why they had stayed silent and hidden for so long, waiting until Sun Jiang's Footsteps in the Wind was alone to strike. Now, they needed another similar chance. The best chance they had was to strike at the other pair was right after they had managed to make a narrow escape from Excellent Era. Don't die too quickly. The two rushed forth as they kept an eye out for system announcements, afraid that a string of announcements of stockings being claimed would jump out. We haven't found them here. They aren't here. They aren't here, either. In Excellent Era's group, Xiao Shiken received a string of reports from the others. Their entire team had split up, including the cleric, to find the two-person group as soon as possible. They weren't afraid of other normal players. Currently, they were only running around, not battling. Even if they were alone, they would still be fine. They're not anywhere there, including Xiao Shiken himself. There were 4 people searching and spreading out in a spiral. This was the most they could manage with 4 people. Yet, they still hadn't found anything. Was it that their targets were just that lucky, or that they were prepared for a search like this? It had now been a full minute since Lower Your Head and Nundare attack had revived. That meant that it had been over a minute since the two had finished their battle and began to run for their lives. The two's movements should be within the current manageable range of their search. However, if another minute passed, the 4 of them wouldn't be able to keep up with the range of movement they had. Sun Jiang's footsteps in the wind didn't wait at the revival point just out of idiocy like Lower Your Head and Nundare attack had thought. The reason he waited there was to get a better grasp of their timing. With a more clear grasp of their timing, they could better calculate the distance in which the two could have traveled. This way, their search would be more effective. Now that they had the exact timing, they had a better grasp of their target's range of movement as well. It was just that they didn't have enough time to arrange a search in a more specific area. Now that their spiral formation wasn't yielding any results either, they would have to increase their range to continue. An increase in the area searched without a change in manpower meant that there was more room for their targets to run and a higher chance to successfully escape. Should they continue like this or? Xiao Shiken fell into deep thought. The ever-changing Pro League battlefield had long since created a habit of making split-second decisions in him. His contemplation only lasted 3 seconds before he came to a decision. Circle back inwards. This was the message Xiao Shiken sent to the other 3. The 3 who received this were stunned for a moment. They had already been prepared to expand their search outwards, but now they were going to cut back inwards? Having obtained the exact time that their targets had to run, they could calculate their approximate distance from the center. They just didn't know the direction, so that's why they were moving outwards in a spiral. Based on the amount of time, their targets were already outside of the range of their spiral formation, given that they had run in a straight line. If they shrunk their range instead of pushing outwards, wasn't that just turning their back on their opponents? Let's take a risk. They might not moved at all. Xiao Shiken then sent such a message. The 3 were stunned. If their targets never moved, then if they continued in their spiral formation, they would only get further and further. However, someone who dared to linger with 8 stockings on them had to have guts of steel. The 3 were surprised even as they followed Xiao Shiken's orders, beginning to shrink their formation inwards. As the perimeter of their spiral shrunk, the area did as well. Even if they couldn't prevent it, they could still be certain of the direction of any character that escaped this spiral. However, this time, Excellent Era's team found that they might be able to finish this battle inside their formation. Their circling inwards eventually revealed 2 figures to them. Mechanicless and Promise and Brawler Rain had come. These 2 really hadn't left, they really hadn't moved from their original place at all. The original place was referring to the center of their formation. Of course, it wasn't that precise. It ended up that they were closer to Excellent Era's striker, Shen Jian. I'm going to engage them. You guys hurry, Shen Jian sent into the party chat. Have you found them already? The first one to reply in excitement was Sun Shang, who had yet to arrive. Go, Xiao Shiken didn't hesitate. At this point, their opponents would definitely have seen them if they weren't asleep. There was no point in hiding anymore. Sending the closest person up to stall for time was the optimal solution. Shen Jian's striker moved quickly and jumped forward to block the 2 escapees. I really can't help but praise you too. You really have guts, Shen Jian said as he sent a thumbs up emoji. Being praised by you feels really weird, his opponent said with a chuckle. Shen Jian startled in front of his computer. This voice, this tone, wasn't this that guy? Just in this moment of shock, Shen Jian was bricked. Holy crap. How did that hit? Steamed Bun didn't seem happy to have managed to hit the other so accurately with a brick, evidently shocked at how easily the brick managed to hit its target. Shen Jian quickly came back to the present, having been bricked, was glad that the brick had hit his face, so he wasn't dizzied. Seeing the Brawler Rain closing in and attempting to take advantage of the situation, his figure blurred as he sent an Emperor's Fist right at the attacker. Ah! He suddenly got stronger. Steam Bun knew that this skill was powerful and yelled as he dodged. Boom! The suddenly stronger striker was swallowed up by smoke. Yi Shu had long since used a skill when talking. Shen Jian's attention had been solely focused on Steam Bun after his moment of absent-mindedness. He was distracted, and Yi Shu managed to get in a frontal sneak attack. A hand grenade arrived with a bang, and then an air compressor was thrown out, and with a ping, the poor striker was blasted into the distance like the uncorking of a champagne bottle. Tisk tisk, leaving so soon. Steam Bun was rather disappointed. Let's go, too, Yi Shu called out, immediately getting the hell out of there. Chapter 912. No hurry to run away. What's going on? The Excellent Era players were collectively alarmed. Wasn't he supposed to be blocking him? Why was he the one sent flying? Xiao Shiken wasn't at the correct angle, but who could be more familiar with a mechanic than him? He immediately deduced that Shen Jian had been blown away by an air compressor. It's Yi Chu, Shen Jian typed out while his character was still flying through the air. Yi Chu, everyone was astonished. What a coincidence. To think they would actually bump into him. Steady, as soon as Xiao Shiken heard Yi Chu's name, he became even more calm. It was too easy for Excellent Era to lose their cool when facing Yi Chu. It was a huge problem for the current team, no, the entire club. Just look at Shen Jian. As soon as he met Yi Chu face to face, he had been sent flying. How could that happen to a pro player? He had clearly been distracted for a moment when he discovered that he was facing Yi Chu. As a result, Xiao Shiken reminded himself that he must stay calm if he encountered Yi Chu. He was just about to give another command and was about instinctively order them to stop him, but Xiao Shiken was afraid that his teammates wouldn't be able to keep their calm, so he changed it to steady. Yi Chu, hurry up and stop him. Xiao Shiken may not have given the command to stop Yi Chu, but Sun Shang did it on his behalf. Sun Shang was still on his way over from the revival point, but as soon as he heard Yi Chu's name, he hated how he didn't have 8 teleports, so he could arrive instantly. There's no hurry. Let's take it slowly, Xiao Shiken hastily said. Don't let him escape, Sun Shang continued to shout. On Excellent Era's side, apart from Shen Jian's striker, there was Zhang Jiaxin's cleric and Wang Jie's sharpshooter. Along with Xiao Shiken's mechanic, the four had surrounded Yi Chu. It was just that Shen Jian's striker was a bit closer. Once Shen Jian's striker was sent flying, the formation seemed to widen instantly. Xiao Shiken and the other two quickly contracted their encirclement. After Shen Jian's striker fell to the ground, he touched it with a quick recover and quickly jumped away. Air compressor had a very powerful blow-away effect, but its damage wasn't high. Shen Jian pulled himself together and prepared to block Yi Chu. It turned out that he didn't need to worry. Yi Chu's mechanic and that brawler had already pounced on him. Shen Jian said he was going to block them, but when he took a look at his opponents, was that still classified as blocking? The other side had come to kill him. Seeing the other three's positions, fighting a 1v2 for a short while couldn't be avoided. Shen Jian originally had confidence in dragging out the 1v2 long enough for his teammates to arrive, but after knowing that one of the two was Yi Chu, he immediately became nervous. Can I do it? Shen Jian was already doubting himself. When Xiao Shiken saw the actions of the other side, he immediately understood their intentions. The other side weren't set on escaping. If they could kill off Shen Jian's striker in the passing, they wouldn't mind doing so. Shen Jian had stockings on him. Their team's strength was more than enough to sweep the field for these event quests, so unlike normal player teams that needed to concern themselves with either pulling their stockings onto one person or splitting their stockings evenly among everyone, it didn't matter who picked up the stockings. Their final stocking count was all that mattered. So at this moment, Xiao Shiken was certain that Shen Jian had stockings. He had no impression of how many stockings Shen Jian had. The other side wasn't in a hurry to run and planned on attacking Shen Jian. Their goal was obviously those stockings on him. Too bold, Xiao Shiken thought to himself. Shen Jian was a pro player and part of the main roster for a powerhouse like Excellent Era. Even if he lost, it wouldn't be too quick. Surviving until the three rushed over to rescue him should be a very easy task. He wasn't going to die in a few seconds like a normal player, right? In the end, Xiao Shiken wasn't able to understand the emotions tumbling around in Shen Jian's heart. He had undying faith. Now, trouble had come and their first exchange shocked Shen Jian. Slide kick? Yi Shu's mechanic, listen promise, had initiated with a slide kick. Shen Jian couldn't understand. Slide kick was a gunner skill pre-job advancement. All 4 classes could learn it, but mechanics usually used it as a movement skill or to widen the distance between themselves and their opponents, but using it to initiate a fight and close the distance. He had never heard of it being used in such a way. He was a striker, an extremely powerful class in close quarters. Mechanics had some level of close combat capabilities, but compared to a striker, it was too illogical, no? Yi Shu was very experienced facing strikers. In the glory scene, if he claimed to be second in terms of experience, no one would claim first. How could he not understand such obvious reasoning? So was this a trap? Was this a new playstyle? Or perhaps he was being looked down on? Shen Jian thought too much. By the time he finished thinking, Yi Shu's mechanic, listen promise, had slid to his striker's feet. Yi Shu tossed a mechanical seeker robot from his mechanical box and it landed by his striker's feet like a brick. The seeker part of the skill was completely ignored. Yi Shu directly had it explode on the striker. Bang! Shen Jian's striker staggered from the explosion. Mechanical Seeka's power wasn't too great. Whether it could knock the target down depended on the situation. With his striker standing firmly on the ground, it wasn't enough to sweep him off his feet. But Yi Shu's attacks didn't stop there. His mechanic, listen promise, raised his hands and followed up with a machine punch. 2 gunshots followed. The combo finally begun. Shen Jian's brain was still whirring. What's this? It seemed like Yi Shu's mechanic was using a gun martial arts style? But a mechanic's close combat skills weren't entirely close combat. They weren't as agile as sharpshooters. Could a mechanic perform this maneuver as well? The chain of attacks just now wasn't very tight? Shen Jian was still a pro player. He subconsciously made some deductions. He saw that Yi Shu's combo wasn't linked very well and instinctively moved. His striker used a beautiful whirlwind kick. Sure enough, it directly interrupted the enemy mechanic's combo. Shen Jian followed up with a reinforced iron bones. This skill increased his defense immensely for 20 seconds, but usually, strikers like to use it when they planned on bursting the opponent. Because apart from increasing his defense, it also gave him 20 seconds of super armor. With super armor, his character couldn't be knocked down, knocked into the air, knocked back, interrupted, and so on. Under these conditions, he could forcefully lengthen his combo. It had a vulgar nickname, Rape ***. In reality, super armor wasn't invincible. The character would be immune to status effects like being knocked down and being knocked into the air, but the character would still take the full amount of damage. As a result, the nickname, Rape, was only one way of looking at it. Sometimes, the character would lose more health than the opponent. However, the striker skill reinforced iron bones also increased his defense immensely and gave a super armor effect. It made this class Rape much more valiant. Every striker liked to establish their dominance by using this skill. Shen Zhong obviously didn't have any intention of showing off and immediately felt that using Rape to fight a mechanic for a short amount of time couldn't be a better choice. After he activated reinforced iron bones and made his first strike, Shen Jian suddenly saw his character's health deplete. The super armor had suddenly disappeared and changed into a bleed effect. Inject poison. Shen Jian reacted. The other side had a brawler. This despicable and dirty class had a skill like inject poison that could negate an opponent's super armor. He had just activated reinforced iron bones, and yet the other side immediately used inject poison. If the other side hadn't planned for this to happen, who would believe it? The super armor was gone, but the increased defense from reinforced iron bones was still there. However, his character no longer had the aura of a tyrant. His punch had been intercepted and nullified by an airdrop. The enemy mechanic and brawler began attacking him full force. Shen Jian struggled to survive. He saw an opportunity and used Cloud Body to escape, when he suddenly heard Yi Chu's voice, Steamed Bun, move 1 step to the left. Move 1 step to the left? Such a detailed command was rarely seen on a pro team. If a battle had to be micromanaged to the smallest detail, then apart from the commander, was everyone else just a marionette? Shen Jian was astonished. It was only after his striker started moving with Cloud Body did he realize what that 1 step had done. Steamed Bun's brawler moved one step to the left and just happened to bump into his cloud body. Strangle. Steamed Bun had been prepared and took advantage of it. His brawler, Rain, lifted his head and reached out to grip the enemy striker's throat. The striker's cloud body was blocked and was interrupted. Shen Jian had been a step slower, but his timing had been prompt. His striker leapt backwards to dodge this strangle. He raised his fists, ready to counterattack, but then he heard Yi Chu shout, "Emperor's Fist. Don't go forward." Shen Jian's heart turned ice cold. His hand stiffened over his keyboard and he didn't know what to do because in that instant, he was just about to use Emperor's Fist. He knows me too well. Shen Jian's striker turned his head and saw this unfamiliar mechanic character. In his head, an image of Yi Chu and his smiling face appeared. His habits. His weaknesses. This former captain knew it like the back of his hand. It wasn't an understanding that could be gained from watching lots of his past fights and fighting against him. It was an understanding slowly formed from playing together for large amounts of time. Toss sand towards me. Have inject poison ready. Tiger flips the mountain. Yi Chu's pointers were mostly to warn Steamed Bun. He didn't need to tell himself. His actions also took advantage of Shen Jian's habits and weaknesses. A pro player of the main roster of a powerhouse was completely suppressed. Xiao Shiken had thought that it was impossible for Shen Jian to die as quickly as a normal player, but it was currently happening. What's more, it was faster than just Yi Chu fighting a normal player 1v1 because this was a 2v1. Shen Jian died, a notification telling them that one of their teammates had died. The other players on Excellent Era had no choice but to accept reality. Afterwards, 3 system announcements popped up. Not bad. 3 stockings. It looks like our efforts weren't in vain. Yi Chu nodded his head and called out to Steamed Bun. This time, they were running away for real. Chapter 913. To chase or to not chase. Without Shen Jian in the way, Yi Chu and Steamed Bun easily escaped. However, they had now completely revealed their identities to Excellent Era's team members. They had escaped, but escaping cleanly wouldn't be so easy now. Xiao Shiken and the other 2 team members were following closely behind. At the same time, Sun Shang knew which direction they were heading in and was trying to intercept them. The map had a total of 20 stockings. Yi Chu and Steamed Bun had stolen 11. They instantly became the leaders on the scoreboard. Such an abrupt rise left even other players feeling satisfied. Of course, those other players didn't have any pressure on them, so if they really did meet anyone with stockings, they would certainly give it a try no matter how powerful you were. Yi Chu and Steamed Bun kept on running. Xiao Shiken's group chased after them from behind. As they ran into quite a few other players. These players saw that not one of these characters didn't belong to a team with stockings. Who cares if you were running at the front or the rear? Whoever was easier to target would be the target. As a result, there were people attacking Yi Chu and Steamed Bun, and there were people attacking Excellent Era as well. Normal players didn't pose a threat to either side, but neither side was willing to stop to fight with these normal players. As Yi Chu and Steamed Bun ran and Xiao Shiken's group chased, more and more players gradually joined the pack. All of them had been stumbled upon along the way. Even if they failed to stop them, they didn't give up and continued to give chase. Normal players couldn't control their stamina as well as pro players could. As everyone continued to run, the normal players started to lag behind. However, there would always be other people making up for them. This situation lasted for a full 5 minutes. The route that Yi Chu and Steamed Bun took was too random. If not, Xiao Shiken would have predicted their pathing and sent people to intercept them. However, the 2 were running too carefreely. If they themselves didn't know where they were going, how could anyone hope to predict their pathing? Unable to make any predictions, Xiao Shiken could only update Sun Shang and Shen Jian with their coordinates. With their coordinates constantly changing and without conforming to any sort of patterns, having Sun Shang and Shen Jian catch up to them became quite troublesome. In the end, they just became 2 other pursuers chasing from different directions. It was true that Xiao Shiken's group couldn't anticipate their target's movements, but such randomness made it a competition of speed. Normal players who couldn't control their stamina well might fall behind, but for pro players, no one was much better than the other in terms of fundamental skills. As a result, Yi Chu and Steamed Bun couldn't throw off Xiao Shiken's group, which was why it ended up with everyone running around for 5 minutes. Then, a system announcement appeared. The 20th stocking had been picked up. Who knew which corner of the map the 20th stocking had been spawned, so that no one was able to find it until now, but after someone had picked it up, all 20 stockings had an owner. The system finally began counting down from 120 seconds. According to Excellent Era's usual strategy, if their total stocking count didn't meet their expectations, they would drop a stocking to stall for time, but in their current situation, Xiao Shiken suddenly felt his heart thump. No one would stop them from dropping a stocking, but the problem was that they had so many players following them. If they dropped one, someone from behind would pick it up immediately. Very little time would be bought. As for dropping it and then picking it up, this apparent hole in the rules had been specially patched. The system would not fall for that trap. This is also Yi Chu's scheme. Xiao Shiken felt annoyed. No wonder the other side just kept running aimlessly. It seemed like they were already satisfied with their 11 stockings this round and agreed to let the round end here. They might approve, but Excellent Era didn't. Could they catch up to those two in 2 minutes? Let alone whether they could catch up. Even if they did, Xiao Shiken wasn't confident they could end the battle within the 2-minute time limit. Should I find somewhere to drop a stocking? His teammate Zhang Jiaxin understood their current predicament. It seems like that's all we can do, Xiao Shiken said. Okay, I'll be going then, Zhang Jiaxin said. His cleric immediately split off from the other two and ran somewhere else. The players following behind saw their targets split up. Which side had the stockings? According to common sense, that cleric was charging out unaccompanied, so he probably wasn't the one protecting the stockings, but what if this was a reverse psychology trap? This question was never-ending loop. They were still running and didn't have time to think carefully. Some believed it to be a reverse psychology trap, while others didn't. Thus, the group of players split up as well. Those who continued chasing Xiao Shiken's group did so mainly because Yi Shu and Steamed Bun were too grandiose. So as long as they still had the stamina, they would keep following closely. Zhang Jiaxin's goal was to find a place with no one around to drop his stocking. He obviously wouldn't be so honorable. He lured a bunch of pursuers and ran around. After running along a route that he had planned, he quickly lost his pursuers. After Zhang Jiaxin ditched his pursuers, he needed to find a remote area to throw his stocking. He couldn't throw it somewhere easy to find. Otherwise, the amount of time gained from it would be pointless. Zhang Jiaxin hadn't thrown his stocking yet, when Xiao Shiken suddenly noticed something strange. Yi Chu and Steamed Bun had been running quite vulgarly the entire time, but they seemed to have suddenly switched strategies. Watch them closely, Xiao Shiken reminded Wang Zi, but when he gave his warning, he suddenly noticed that something wasn't right. Excellent Era originally had 5 players. After running around for so long, right now weren't he and Wang Zi the only ones who would be fighting against Yi Chu? Wait, this isn't good. Xiao Shiken thought of this and immediately called out to Wang Zi. What's wrong? Wang Zi's sharpshooter had been moving with aerial fire the entire time. Rhythm was important for aerial fire, and he had been maintaining it perfectly. He felt rather sad to stop when Xiao Shiken told him to wait. This isn't right, Xiao Shiken said. What's not right? Wang Zi said. If we continue chasing, it'll be troublesome. Xiao Shiken was quite confident in his deduction. With Yi Chu's boldness, would he be afraid to fight a 2v2? Seeing how Shen Jian had instantly died, Yi Chu's existence must cause a huge amount of psychological pressure on Excellent Era's players. They were 2 people, but in Yi Chu's eyes, they might only be 1.5? Or 1.2? But if we don't chase them, we'll be caught. Wang Zi looked ahead. Yi Chu and Steamed Bun were gradually getting farther away. When he looked behind, the various teams were gradually getting closer. After being reminded, Xiao Shiken also looked back and suddenly felt his head hurt. In their eyes, there was Yi Chu and Steamed Bun, but in the other players' eyes, their targets were him and Wang Zi. If they continued chasing, they might fall into Yi Chu's trap. If they didn't chase, they needed to figure out some way to escape from the other players. Even though the pressure wasn't huge, it would require time. During that time, did Yi Chu have anything in store for them? Even if he didn't, that amount of time would be enough for him to disappear without a trace. The more difficult the choice, the quicker the choice needed to be made. Xiao Shiken knew this, and after a quick calculation, he finally clenched his teeth, continue chasing. Yi Chu wasn't the only one with courage. Xiao Shiken was able to lead a mediocre team like Team Thunderclap to the playoffs every season. Their journey definitely hadn't been through extreme caution. Their achievements had come with risks that paid off. And the person who made these risky decisions under huge pressure was Xiao Shiken. In comparison, how could this trifling event count for anything? Xiao Shiken made his decision. He no longer hesitated. His mechanic could also use aerial fire, but now that he knew that he might run into trouble with Yi Chu up ahead, aerial fire would be too reckless considering that he would only be able to see behind him and would be unable to pay attention to what was up ahead. Xiao Shiken immediately began running with his 2 legs. On the other hand, Wang Zi continued to move using aerial fire. With Xiao Shiken, they would have their eyes on the front and back, allowing them to see the entire situation. Around the corner. Adjust your line of sight. Up ahead, Yi Chu and Steamed Bun went around a corner and temporarily disappeared from everyone's view. It was a commonly used tactic to get away from pursuers, but the two had rarely done so previously. If Xiao Shiken had known they would do this, then he could observe the surrounding terrain and make some predictions. Right now, he still needed to guess a bit, but more importantly, he needed to be on guard. The awareness by the 2 players were on point. When they turned the corner, they were prepared. Both characters held their guns out. Wang Zi's sharpshooter opened the path and leapt out. It didn't matter if there were no opponents or not, he fired randomly. Xiao Shiken's mechanic flew into the air with rotor wing and coordinated with Wang Zi, but when they rushed out, they saw the other side hadn't set up an ambush. They were still running for their lives. This was also the advantage of using the terrain to escape. The ones escaping didn't need to worry about ambushes, but the ones chasing needed to. Guarding against an ambush wasted time. They might be guarding, but there might be nothing to guard against. Xiao Shiken wasn't inflexible. He glanced at the terrain. Their excellent era had come here before. This master tactician was very keen with the terrain and quickly outlined what choices the other side could make. He quickly notified the team. If the others could quickly come to the rescue, that would be the way of the king. If they could fight a 5v2, why fight a 2v2? This was Xiao Shiken's philosophy. If he had to fight on equal terms, then the mediocre Team Thunderclaps wouldn't have been able to obtain such accomplishments. Got it. Sun Shang, Shen Jian, and even Zhang Jiaxin, who had gone to drop a stocking, replied in the team chat. Just when Xiao Shiken's heart steadied, 2 figures leapt out from the right. Those 2 figures didn't give a greeting and directly attacked them. Lower your head. None dare attack. Chapter 914. I'm a cicada, you're a shell. Where did these 2 come from? A coincidence? Or Yi Chu's schemes? Xiao Shiken was more willing to believe the latter, because this timing was just too serendipitous. These 2 barriers had suddenly appeared just at the most inconvenient time. Of course, Xiao Shiken wasn't afraid of lower your head and none dare attack, it was just that they had no time to waste on these 2 sockless characters. If it were any other normal players, excellent eras players could easily break through them and leave them in the dust, but these 2. The 2 sides opened fire. 4 characters were all gunners, 3 sharpshooters, 1 mechanic. Their battle were a slew of flying bullets, almost like a shooter game. The 2 sides never closed in on each other, running as they shot at each other. Xiao Shiken wanted to shake them off as soon as possible, fighting a battle of skills as he talked. We have 6 pairs of stockings here, and those 2 have 11, Xiao Shiken began bluntly, striking at the core of the argument. The distribution of stockings was like so, 11 were with Yi Chu's group, while Xiao Shiken and Wang Zi's characters had 6 between them. Zhang Jiaxing's cleric had 2 and another normal player team had 1. 6 versus 11. The difference in significance was obvious. But they're always 2 people, while you guys are rarely 2, lower your head and none dare attack also replied with numbers. The usual excellent era was a 5-man team. Lower your head and none dare attack didn't dare to face them head on, so they wanted to take the chance to snatch these stockings first. Yi Chu's pair would always only be a pair, so it wouldn't make a difference when they decided to face off. Hearing this, Xiao Shiken could be certain that this wasn't a coincidence. They came to take advantage of Xiao Shiken and Wang Zi's lack of backup. Someone was definitely feeding them information, and this person was definitely Yi Chu. This was because only they, being at the lead, could predict where they were going and could give an accurate report. We've fallen into one of his schemes, Xiao Shiken was depressed. What should we do? Wang Zi asked. Don't get surrounded, let's fight as we run. Xiao Shiken turned his view to see a following of normal players in pursuit, and instantly felt even more helpless. Lower your head and none dare attack were onto them, and the players in pursuit were, too. Yi Chu was a cicada shedding its shell, and treated them like that shell. Wang Zi and I have been blocked. We're leaving Yi Chu up to you guys, Xiao Shiken informed the others helplessly in the party chat. After having several exchanges with Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack, Xiao Shiken had a good understanding of their skill level. If they really wanted to break through their barricade, it wasn't like they didn't have a chance. However, if these two charged over, they wouldn't be able to easily wipe out or shake them off. If they continued being pursued by these two and Yi Chu decided to turn around to catch them in a tricky situation, then they probably wouldn't survive. To be truthful, Xiao Shiken believed that this was exactly what Yi Chu was planning. So, Xiao Shiken suppressed his impulsive side, fighting and retreating alongside Wang Zi and decisively not pursuing Yi Chu. Yi Chu had, of course, taken note of Xiao Shiken's decision, and was a little disappointed. Xiao Shiken's guess was correct. Their ultimate goal was still to take the chance to steal stockings. Just as the last pieces were falling into place, Xiao Shiken didn't fall for it. Yi Chu was disappointed, but this was Xiao Shiken. If it were Sun Xiang, then he probably had long since charged forth and gotten pincered by the four. Xiao Shiken's pair didn't actively chase after them, and Yi Chu and Steamed Bun didn't go back for them either. This was because there were still other players over there, and if they returned, everyone's attention would swap over to them, the characters with 11 pairs of stockings. So they could only watch and wait. Sun Xiang and Shen Jian had gotten to the places Xiao Shiken had given them in accordance with his calculations. They looked around their prepared areas, but never saw Yi Chu's pair. They don't seem to be on this path, Shen Jian reported. They haven't come here, either, Sun Xiang added. This guy? Xiao Shiken felt cold sweat beating on his head again, making a quick 360-degree turn to have a quick look at his surroundings. Yi Chu hadn't retreated along his calculated paths. Was it because there weren't any more pursuers so they didn't need to use the same path, or was it because these two had already turned back and were lying in wait for a chance to strike? Considering Yi Chu's bold and gutsy personality, Xiao Shiken guessed that it was the latter. He probably wanted to snatch benefits from their tricky situation and see if there was a chance to steal the stockings. Gather here, Xiao Shiken hurriedly told the others. They couldn't continue on like this. They needed to gather their forces again. Be careful, Yi Chu might be nearby, Xiao Shiken warned Wang Zi. Gunshots thundered. The battle between Xiao Shiken and Lower Your Head's pairs was still going on strong. The two sides fired even as they continued to move at a high pace. At first, Xiao Shiken's pathing and movement was used to shake off some of their pursuers. However, needing to be careful of Yi Chu, they could use these players to their advantage, so Xiao Shiken wasn't impatient to shake them off, but let them hang around. As expected, this guy is a tricky opponent. Yi Chu, who really was lying in wait nearby, saw through Xiao Shiken's plan, but had no way of dealing with it. In a situation where each side understood what situation the other feared, they could only watch and wait for an opportunity to strike. There was no other solution. By this time, Zhang Jiaxing had long since thrown down a stocking and ended the 120-second countdown. This was all part of Xiao Shiken's orders. He quickly headed back over. Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack, who had always been outstanding, experienced the strength of pro players again, not long after their beating at Yi Chu's hands in the last round. Xiao Shiken and Wang Zi didn't have any trouble keeping up with the sisters even with the harassment of the many normal players. Eventually, excellent eras players Sun Xiang, Shen Jian, and Zhang Jiaxing arrived one by one. Among them, Sun Xiang was the most vicious. His charge over had knocked down multiple normal players. When he got closer to Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack, he had even less hesitation. The strength of excellent eras party, having gathered, multiplied instantly. With a few rounds of vicious offense, the normal players started dropping like flies. Their number advantage seemed non-existent. If this continued, they would be wiped out. If it wasn't for the fact that barefooted people didn't fear wearing shoes *, the players would have dispersed a long time ago. Despite this, many people got bored of this meaningless task after a while of being beat. They couldn't be bothered to continue, but they couldn't be bothered to leave either, so they all became spectators. In the end, the only people who were still fighting were Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack. These two girls didn't dare to face the 5 members of Excellent Era on their own, so they had resorted to following and hiding. Now, in this situation, they didn't really want to continue and began to break away. Excellent Era couldn't be arsed to continue engaging the two either. It was only Sun Xiang who took a few steps in pursuit, but that was when a system announcement popped up. Player listen, Promise has collected the 10th Christmas stocking. F***CK, Zhang Jiaxing almost spat blood. After dropping the stocking, he had hurried over. Yet it wasn't long before someone came to collect it and, how coincidental, it was Yi Chu. Seeing the 120-second countdown start up again, Xiao Shiken realized something and was immediately frustrated enough to slap his own forehead. I was careless. Again, Xiao Shiken lamented. What? The others weren't as quick to understand. Yi Chu and the others were nearby, so they saw you coming back. Xiao Shiken directed his words at Zhang Jiaxing. Zhang Jiaxing was stunned, seeming to have realized something, but not completely. With a clear understanding of which direction you came from, and then combining that with the timing of when you dropping the stocking, they can calculate where you dropped it, Xiao Shiken said. F***CK, Zhang Jiaxing really did look like he was about to cough blood this time. His entire face had gone red. Quickly, drop another stocking, Sun Xiang said. He wasn't at all satisfied with their current score, especially after realizing that they were up against Yi Chu this round. He didn't want to lose, not at all. There were still players watching them from the sidelines. Though they didn't come to bother them anymore, they couldn't throw the stocking here. Excellent Era's party quickly left. 120 seconds wasn't very long, but not very short either, so the group moved quickly, shaking off normal players even more quickly, but they soon realized that they had 2 unshakable tails. Lower your head, none dare attack. These two, we should have dealt with them just now, Sun Xiang said in anger. This time he was very on point. Excellent Era really shouldn't have let them go just like that. However, if they wanted to settle this now, they wouldn't have enough time. If they really wanted to deal with them, they would have to throw away a stocking to stop the countdown. Even so, these two were sharpshooters and didn't need to close in to fight. It would be easier for them to run. It was easier to run away, and these two weren't bad tactically. If they ended up splitting up, that wouldn't be good. You two, I'm sure you understand the current situation. Rules were dead, but people weren't. Under the situation in which they couldn't change the rules, they could only talk it out. The two sides were 10 body units apart, yelling to be heard. Xiao Shik began to discuss things loudly with the two. If we don't throw down a sock this time around, this round will end quickly, but your current actions make me doubt that you'll let us. If we don't, are you willing to accept defeat? Lower your head, yelled back, voice clear and crisp. Just from the voice, it seemed like this was a pretty lady. We, at least, still have 7 pairs, but you have none. I doubt you'll be willing to accept that, right? Xiao Shiken asked. Chapter 915. An expert. Do you think we can accept just letting you free to steal stockings? Lower your head replied, or do you plan to say that you'll share a portion of your stockings with us if we cooperate? Going by Lower your head's tone, it was clear that she didn't believe that they would do this. As for Xiao Shiken, was unable to respond due to their tone. While on the battlefield, he had no trouble using deceiving and cunning tactics against his opponent, but for something like this, he found it hard to make false promises. As for using stockings to bribe the two? Too little, and they wouldn't think it was worth it. Too many, then why would they still need to go after Yi Chu? There was no way to implement this realistically, yet Xiao Shiken couldn't bring himself to deceive them either. So under the watchful gaze of Lower your head and none dare attack, Excellent Era's members completed a trade, distributing some stockings to those without anyone before the 5 split up, each going their own way. Lower your head and none dare attack were flummoxed. Their opponent had 5 people who all had stockings. Any of them could throw away one. Lower your head and none dare attack were only 2. They would have no way of being certain who would drop the stocking. But after a moment of thought, the two suddenly realized, under these circumstances, did they have to be certain of who would drop the stocking? The two sharpshooters quickly picked someone and chased after them together. While Excellent Era operating as a group, the two could only watch on. Now that they split up voluntarily, would Lower your head and none dare attack still feel pressure engaging them as a pair? Of course not. These two even dared to challenge Sun Xiang. How could the two be afraid of challenging the members of Excellent Era as individuals? They set their sights on Shen Jian. The two knew that the person they were onto would definitely not drop stockings, but this time they were aiming to steal the stockings and not just pick up what scraps they could get. At first, they were afraid that their opponents might see through their intentions, feigning hesitation in an attempt to hide their plans, but when they saw Excellent Era split up, they suddenly started to put all their effort into chasing them down. The countdown was still ticking. Excellent Era seemed to have decided to wait till the last second to throw a stocking away. However, the two sisters didn't care anymore. They only cared if they could catch up to Shen Jian and strike. Their control of stamina usage was equally skilled. At first, the two sisters had a hard time making up for the distance they had gained while hiding their intentions and pretending to have been shaken off. It was a good thing that they hadn't let Shen Jian out of their sight. The two sharpshooters combined aerial fire with swift run, pulling closer to their target. By now, the countdown had stopped and the number of collected stockings returned to 19. The two sisters weren't certain if it was Shen Jian's striker that threw away the stocking, but they had a clear view of the path the striker had gone on. If he dropped anything, it would be on this path, so long as they kept chasing, they would be fine. Searching as they chased, they quickly confirmed that Shen Jian really hadn't dropped any stocking and the distance between the two sides shrunk significantly. Shen Jian had noticed his two tails, too, and decisively had his character come to a stop, turning to meet the two. As expected of a pro player, he's very confident. To lower your head and none dare attack. It looked like this guy had confidence in fighting 1-on-2 against them, stopping to wait for them. They didn't hesitate either, raising their guns as soon as they were in range. Bang! Yet, the first gunshot didn't come from their chamber. Bang! Bang! Bang bang! The two hadn't even begun to attack before they were attacked by repeated fire. Having experience on the battlefield, the two quickly figured out where the bullets were coming from and turned to look at each side. Xiao Shkin's mechanic and Wang Zi's sharpshooter had arrived to flank them. Looking behind them, Sun Jiang's battle mage was as bold as ever, charging forward as if he were a bullet himself. The opponent's cleric didn't even position himself in a place where he could cover everyone with his healing. This was an offensive positioning, prepared to buff their own attacks. It's a trap, the two immediately realized. It their plan, but now they realized that their opponents had long since guessed what they would do and made such an arrangement to trap them. Where were the dropped stockings? They had no clue. Stealing the stockings from Shen Jian? That, too, had become an impossible task. What was important was if they could escape from Excellent Era. The answer seemed to be negative. 5 against 2, a perfect trap, completely surrounded. If they still couldn't crush two players with no pro-match experience under these circumstances, then Excellent Era wouldn't be worthy of being called a powerhouse in the Pro League. Don't cause any more trouble. Xiao Shikin said this like he was giving a piece of advice, but it sounded like a threat to the two. And then, they were sent to the nearest revival point. The two sisters were depressed. Excellent Era's encirclement had completely wiped the floor with them. They had finally truly witnessed the power of pro players. However, it was because of this pro team that their future had been stained. 2 consecutive stockingless rounds would make their score today look terrible, and if their efforts were viewed as just a sudden burst of luck, then their futures were in jeopardy. What should we do? At the very least, we can't let them get away scot-free. Knowing that getting a good score in this round would be exceptionally hard, the sisters were just about to give up and simply cause the others as much trouble as they could. Thus, Yishu's mechanic Listen Promise received a message from Lower Your Head, let's work together. Oh. We can work together against Excellent Era, 4 versus 5, Lower Your Head said. And then, Yishu asked. We can take their stockings first, anything else and we'll just cross that bridge when we get there, Lower Your Head replied. Haha, I like your, cross that bridge when we get there. Let's band together and defeat our biggest adversary first, Lower Your Head said. Okay, do you know their current location? Yishu asked. They just left coordinate 124.45, Lower Your Head reported. Their current target is definitely us. So, we should find a place to set up an ambush and just lie in wait, Yishu said. You're right. Then, come to 186, 151. See you there, Lower Your Head replied. Near coordinates 186, 151, Lower Your Head and None Dare Attack soon saw Mechanic Listen Promise and Brawler Rain upon arriving. They didn't hide themselves at all, boldly standing in the open and looking around, waiting. Seeing the two rush over, the two characters turned one after the other and walked towards them. You're planning an ambush here? Lower your head, carefully scan the terrain. There were a set of ruins buried under the white snow. It wasn't clear as to what they used to be, but if they dusted the snow away, they could find many scorch marks. It seemed to have been devoured up by flames, and now it was covered by snow. In our 4-man team, there are 3 gunners. There's plenty of cover here, which is good for a ranged encirclement. However, we can't play an endurance match against Excellent Era because we don't have any healers, so we need to find a way to scatter them and quickly deal with them individually. This terrain is much more suitable for that, Yi Shu said. Lower your head felt that what Yi Shu had said was very reasonable, unable to find anything wrong with it. We can analyze the problem of their direction of approach from the coordinates you gave us just now. Their target is me, so this gives us a starting point. What they definitely know is the point where I collected the stockings that they dropped. Calculating our movements from there, your possible pathings are. Yi Shu began to analyze with eloquence, bringing up a ton of coordinates and analyses. Lower your head and none dare attack listened, half lost. So, I think they're most likely to come from the north to this point, a little to the east, and pass through this area, Yi Shu concluded from his massive analyses. Who are you, really? Lower your head and none dare attack had long since started looking at him with shock. An expert, Yi Shu replied. Quote. Now, we'll make the arrangements for our positioning for this ambush and the possible pathing and movements we'll force a fight. I know you two are very in sync with each other, but right now, you have to remember that we are 4, so you have to think from the perspective of a 4-man team. You might not be able to adapt to it immediately, but do your best to overcome it. When needed, I'll warn you guys, Yi Shu said. Quote. After a while, they finished their tactics meetings. It wasn't too in-depth, but very obviously used the terrain to its fullest. Soon enough, they all stood at their starting positions. Steamed Buns Rain was a melee character, yet he wasn't set at the front of their formation, but lying in wait in the deepest area. Lower your head and none dare attack, who were never seen apart, had been separated by Yi Shu. None dare attack was hidden a little deeper, while lower your head was at the very outside with Yi Shu's listen promise. They each hid in their respective positions, quietly awaiting Excellent Era's players. Lower your head turned her view and saw Listen Promise playing with his automatic handgun. She knew this was just a repeated action done out of boredom. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Time passed and, actually, in this time, stocking ownership had been changed twice, but this was all between those small normal player teams. Excellent Era still hadn't arrived. Hey, Lower your head couldn't help but speak up, watching Listen Promise silently playing around with this repeated animation. What? You aren't afraid of the possibility that we are tricking you into meeting us and planning to steal your stockings when we have the chance? Lower your head said. Nope, Yi Shu said. You trust us so much? Lower your head asked. Don't trust you, Yi Shu said, I'm just simply not afraid of you too. Lower your head paused before realizing this asshole was saying that he was confident in their ability to defeat the two sisters, and that was why he wasn't afraid that this was a scheme. In this moment, Lower your head really wanted to take out her gun and just murder this guy.